Hello, welcome back to the garden. I thought we'd take a quick walk around the garden this morning. It's been a while. As you can see, I'm in a bit of a muddle again. Uh, this is the front garden. That's why I haven't posted a video lately. I'm building a garage. But I thought while I was building the garage, I should have done this earlier really, but with the rain and everything else, I haven't had the chance. I thought we'd take a quick look at the makeup of the soil here. If we look at the spoil, you can see thick solid lumps. Can't actually squeeze it. It's not wet at the minute, but what I've got here is a clay soil. So if we look carefully, you can see how far the topsoil comes down, which is the top layer, the usable layer. Then it turns to sandy clay, which is, believe me, I've had it on my boots for the last week now, and it is sticky. Over the other side here, you can't see quite so much since the concrete went in, but there's a real thick band of clay runs through the middle here. What I'm having to do is adjust my garden, and my previous garden that I left was on gravel and sand, really free draining. What the band of clay that runs through here does is holds the moisture here. Still quite a good soil, holds the water better than a sandy gravelly soil, but not quite. Just got to adjust the way I garden, because before I was so used to good drainage I just took it for granted. Case in point, the large butia that I moved, when I dug the hole for that, it was the first time I discovered I was on clay. If we look carefully around the bottom, we can just get down there, you'll see I actually planted it in a raised position. The reason I did this was to give it better drainage. Some palms, trachycarpus being one, quite enjoy getting their roots down into clay. Others need better drainage, so I didn't really want to take any chances with the butia, so I planted it raised up. Echiums around the bottom here. Hopefully they'll flower next year if they don't get frosted in the winter. They've just spontaneously arrived. They self-seed themselves around. There's one on the trunk here. The one up the top here actually has hung on there for about 3 years now. Not got a lot bigger than that, but yeah, it's actually grown in the trunk, and it moved with the palm when I moved it, and I actually used that as a marker to get it back into the same orientation as it was in my previous garden. So to try and minimize the transplant shock, it went back in exactly facing the same direction in regards to the sun as it did in my previous garden. But whether it'll ever flower or whether it'll just continue growing like it does remains to be seen. But I think it looks quite good up there. So apart from my major excavations, piles of soil, and the tons and tons that have already gone in a skip, the lamppost, which is a nice lamppost, cast lamppost, I've also moved out the front here in readiness, so when you swing in the driveway you can get to the garage rather than where it is a previous position it was in the way. Anyway, enough about garages. Let's continue with some more plants in the back garden. So we're at the end of October really. I think today is the 27th of October. We've had a couple of frosts so far this year, enough to freeze your windscreen on your car, nothing too serious. It's nipped the odd thing. Brassioopsis mitis here, still putting out new leaves. I think the combination of wind and the frost didn't really like. I'll try and hold off putting everything in the greenhouse as long as possible and protecting it. I want the garden to be as year round as possible rather than 6 months in, 6 months out. I just pulled back a bit. Palm I transplanted earlier in the year, Trachycarpus fortunio, settling in well. New growth coming out of the top. If we walk this way, don't think you've seen this one yet, or haven't filmed it. Another new Trachycarpus fortunio. This time bought from a nursery in a pot. What I wanted to do, if I stand back a bit, is have a Trachycarpus either side of the seating area here. So I bit the bullet, paid a few pounds, well, more than a few pounds for this plant here. Quite pleased with it. Went in well. It had a really big root ball. The only thing I have noticed is the growing point. If you can see it here, if I pull back of it, it's slightly over to the right hand side as I'm looking at it. I'm not sure whether it's spear pulled in the past, been damaged by frost, or whether it's been growing leant over and tried to go towards the sun. I'm not really sure. I'm not too concerned by it. Hopefully it'll right itself. I did email the nursery regarding it, and if you've ever dealt with Seagrave's nursery, you'll realise they're not really good at replying to emails. Plants are usually really good quality, but communication is lacking somewhat, so I haven't heard back. But as I say, I'm quite happy that will continue to grow. But look along, this is where most of the spiky stuff was. It's still work in progress, but I've moved most of it. Some has gone into the greenhouse to start drying out, ready for the winter. The thing with the spiky plants are, they all come from countries and habitats with less rainfall than we get in the UK. And they don't like sitting with wet feet, especially in the winter. So what was along here, most of them have moved. Some haven't gone into the greenhouse yet. Some are just got a canopy here. Some have just moved under the canopy, which keeps the worst of the rain off. But if you have a look in here, you'll see they're still quite damp. We've had a lot of rain this year, and they're under here now to dry out. That may stay under here for the winter, or I may decide to put it in the greenhouse at a later date. But same again here under the canopy, and several other plants are doing the same. Musabasdew and insect morellii still in the ground, still growing away. People do tend to panic with bananas and start wrapping them up too early. You can leave them. I used to leave mine all year unwrapped. Obviously they were bigger than this in my previous garden. I would say a stem like that needs wrapping. I'm going to protect it at some point, but I won't protect it until frost has blackened the leaves and they start hanging down. Then I'll cover it up. We have a little walk along. The ginger just flowered there. Bergmansia still got buds, probably won't make it now. The cannas are browning up now and going over. Dahlias are still in flower. Ricinus probably looking at its best it has all year, to be fair. I grew that from seed in the spring. Canna still with bud. Whether that'll make it before the frost now is debatable, but we'll see. Trachycarpus fortunii, Tetrapanix Rex is doing well. Still putting on some good growth, settling in nicely. It hasn't flowered. I didn't want it to flower. You can tell when they flower, the leaves get progressively smaller and they put a flower stalk out, but what I wanted to do is put a larger trunk up before it flowers, because after flowering the stem will usually split. Pseudophanex, Moa's toes, doing very well. Triphalia, rhododendrofolia, just sitting there. I'm hoping next year that'll do a bit more. It's had a flush of leaves this year. Nothing fantastic, but next year I'm hoping the roots will be down and the white will go. Mahonia soft caress is now starting to flower, which is nice. Nice flowers this time of year. Trachycarpus princeps. Look at the colour of the underside of that leaf. Wonderful, wonderful. Further down here, tree ferns. Just get in there. Still got the wig or the prop in this one. You've seen some of the previous videos, you'll know I've moved this, or I've moved it a couple of times due to the wrong positioning. The prop is simply holding the trunk in place. I'm guessing I could probably remove it now, but I'm not going to. It's going to stay in place for the winter, and I think by the spring that will definitely be rooted enough to hold itself. Backs here up there. There again, I've moved up for a second time. I put it in haste, and it was rather crowded where it was. It'll have more room to fill out here, so that's moved fairly recently. Odd things scattered around, another tetrapanic that's potted. The bigger tree fern here that went in March, fully fronded, has still not put a frond out yet this year. I was hoping it would put some out this year, just so I knew all was well. But if you look in the top, and I feel in the top, I can definitely feel fronds in there, so maybe it's concentrating on root growth rather than putting fronds out. We'll find out next spring. The bigger tree fern that I brought with me when I moved from my previous garden seems to have settled in nicely. That has been putting out odd new fronds all year, which is good. I think next year I'm going to rig a watering system up for that. It's now at a height that I can't just stand and water. I have to get steps out if I want to water into the crown. So next year I think I might discreetly run a pipe up the back that I can connect to the hose so I can water it for a while. I had a system in the old garden similar to that, although I didn't use it in the end, but I think I'm going to rig another one up. Leaves are yellowing now, autumn is on the way, but considering the time of year we're at, the garden's still looking remarkably lush and green. Still some flowers about. Big Echium there. I left that was nowhere near this size earlier in the year. See how cold the winter is. If it's kind to it and it gets through, that should have a huge flower spike next year, which will be impressive. Canna's now going over, but it is nearly November. European fan palm. Finally, I note some green leaves from the large trunk. I was concerned. I thought it settled in alright when I moved it, then I was concerned because it kept putting out brown leaves constantly you can see around the top where I've been chopping them off, but green leaves have resumed, which is good because got, see if I can get that. I think we're suffering with the sun. There we go. So as you can see, it's got quite a large trunk on it. I would have been loath to lose that, although there is another one the other side that's growing away well. But yes, we still have flowers in the garden. We still have big leaves in the garden. And we're nearly in November. Unfortunately, the large Pseudophanex ferox is no longer with us. I am going to leave it until the spring to see, but I show no sign of any new growth, and it's slowly been dropping its leaves, which is a shame because was a tall specimen, but this replacement is here and growing on. Give it a few years, and it'll be back. The pond area is coming on. Filled out quite nicely since I put it in the spring. That's Musa sycamensis. I'm looking for a home for that. I think it's going to possibly be planted out the front, in the front garden, once I get that underway. But yeah, pond is doing well. I've seen several frogs now, which was the idea of building it. They didn't come for a while, and I'm not sure they stay all the time, but on occasions I've seen 1-2 frogs at a time, and they come and go, which is nice. Maybe next spring I may have some frogs spawn with a bit of luck. But yes, considering the time of year and the fact we've had a couple of frosts, everything is still looking remarkably well. Inset Amoeba is over 6 foot tall now. Wonderful, wonderful plant. That was a tiny little 2-3 leaf baby in the spring. Look at it now. If you look down the bottom here, it's absolutely huge. I'm gonna dig that up at some point. Not yet. I'll let the frost come again, and once it nips the leaves first, and then I'll take it up. But yes, got another ginger flowering here. I think that one's Asm's orange from memory. Cannas are still trying to flower, more buds. And that's a little roundup of the garden, really. Oh, we'll have a quick little look in the greenhouse. As I was saying, I've got some insulation in. Well, I didn't say that. It's insulated now. Just about finished, ready for the winter. I brought the food plants in. Spiky ones mostly, just to get them drying off, ready for the winter ahead, because they can handle cold, a lot of them, but what they can't handle is cold and wet, and they especially don't like wet roots, so they're in now, drying out. And if we get a few days of sunshine, it does get really warm in here, and which should dry them nicely. What else can I show you? Maybe we'll look at these another day, but if you look carefully there, this Tetrapanax Rex, there's another one coming through there. There's another one there. I had a little experiment. I was moving one, and some roots came off, so I thought I'll try some root cuttings, because generally before I propagated them from little baby ones, like this one here, the pups from the main one, separating them and potting them up. I thought I'll have a go with root cuttings, and it looks like they're successful, so we'll see how they go. Maybe not the best time of year done, but I had the root available, and that's very little work. If they're successful, I'll do another video in the spring to show you how we do them. But yeah, all in all, quite pleased with the garden at this time of year. It's still looking really well, considering we're just about in November. The hour has changed now. We get those misty mornings, spiders' webs everywhere. But still the garden continues to grow. Long may it continue. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And join me next time when we have another look around Heathcroft Garden.